What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Today we're doing part two of the Should You Build a Base Out in the Deep Desert series. I'm going to go ahead and link part one up here in the top corner if you haven't seen it yet. Probably a good idea to watch that. So, we're going to be talking about things and referencing things that were in that video and may not make sense if you haven't seen it before. And also, I'd like to point out that if you can't watch a 13-minute video designed to help you out,
That is why you fail.
Alright, I'm done being mean. So let's take a look here at the storage in our assault. I have loaded this up with everything that we're going to need in order to build the base that I'm about to show you. I shared this image at the end of the first video, but let me point out I made a change because the filters I had in that picture you actually can't make yet. You need an advanced survival fabricator in order to make them. So I switched to these particulate filters, which you can make in any kind of a regular survival fabricator. So that's the only real change. Also, I want to point out that I kind of evened the numbers out. It's just personal preference. It bothers me. If it was said like 46 of something, I moved it up to 50. If it was, I think it was 21 melange I actually need, so I made it 25. So you may have a little bit extra here and there, but I just kind of rounded the numbers off just to make it a little easier on the eyes, so to speak. But this is the items that you're going to need. So load up your assault. You still have some space, so if you want to take some extra things in case you're going to build more than what I'm going to show you, by all means, go ahead. You do have like half the capacity is being used. But so we're heading out here in the deep desert. You'll notice we just crossed into B sector. A is that opening one. B is just this little strip right here, but technically it's in B. This is still PvE area, and I've got several spots out here. I like to find some real flat open areas. I don't really build into rock structures that much. But once you find your spot, you're going to bring up your gun and you're going to build an advanced subfeed console. What I like to do is move forward until I start seeing the landscape cut into it, and then I'll back up a little bit. Looks like we still got some landscape there. Yep, if we move in, it's going to be close, but it is possible. So we're going to head this way just a little bit. That should be good. And then we're going to take a look around and make sure that the landscape's not causing us problems. We got a little bit of an incline there, but that'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and build. And then our next step is to get some foundations down. In order to have some flexibility, what I like to do is I like to basically corner that foundation, and then I move back to where I've got at least one spot on each side. So if I decide to put like a little overhang or something, then I have the space available in order to do that. And then we're just going to fill out as far as we want to go in this back corner here. We'll keep going, and I think we can do... That's getting kind of close. All right, so at that point, we're going to take a turn, and we're going to keep heading off this way. Now, once we get out to a certain point, we're going to see where the landscape, remember I mentioned that, we're not going to build into that. We're just going to make the turn, and we're going to keep on going. So just keep going around. Eventually, you're going to have to move your subfeed console onto solid ground so you can fill the rest in. And now would be the time if you wanted to maybe put some rounded edges or different kinds of walls in place. Now would be the time to do it since you're still at the basic foundation level. Admittedly, I am a very utilitarian person, so I don't put a lot of flair into my bases, but I do want to point someone out. I was doing some Google searching to try to get some ideas for base design when I came across this page from ZenMonkey. And I have to admit, some of her designs are just incredible. It's a level of flair and a uniqueness that I don't go for. Like I said, I am mostly utilitarian. But some of the ideas and concepts that she comes up with are just incredible, and they're awesome to look at as well. She does a great job of explaining what she's doing, how she has it set up. She points out where the equipment is, what kind of machinery, where she's building it. And overall just has some really interesting and really unique designs. And I know she also said on her page in one of her videos that she loves seeing one of the designs that she came up with or that she promoted actually out there in the deep deserts. So if you're looking for something that's a little more unique and a little more visually pleasing than the box bases that I like to design, head over to ZenMonkey, give her a shout out, watch some of her videos. If you leave a comment, tell her Jackrabbit sent you. She won't even know what that means. But yeah, check her out. Let's get back to my boring build here. What we're going to do is we're just going to keep building walls, the foundation, until we run out of plastone or get relatively low. Now it's time to switch over to do some storage boxes. I need some aluminum and some silicone blocks, so we're going to go over to the assault and we're going to pull enough to build maybe 3 or 4 boxes total. The reason we're doing this is because now we can take everything that's in the assault and that storage and put it over here in the boxes, and then we'll have access to everything. We don't have to worry about using our backpack at all. Everything's going to be in the storage boxes. We'll have complete access. And if you fill up one box, just go ahead and drop whatever else you have into another one. You can just put them right in the middle of the floor right now. We'll move them later, so their placement isn't so much of an issue. But basically, we just wanted to get the storage out. Then we're going to head back, finish off these walls. Use whatever patterns you want. Like I said, go pretty utilitarian, but once you get almost all the walls done, you want to leave a 2 space open. This is going to be an entranceway for us, for the buggy eventually. When we do the second layer, I would suggest that you do some windows. This game is really dark, and any light that you can pull from the outside is definitely going to help you. Go ahead and use whatever pattern you want, whatever windows you want, doesn't matter. Once that's done, put some flooring on. And then right here in this little opening, I like to put ramps just because it makes it a lot easier to run in, walk in, and also drive in. But yeah, I usually put just a little half ramps here. We built some generators, and we did bring some fuel cells out, but one thing about the deep desert, there's always fuel cells laying around. So we're going to come outside here, we're going to harvest a few, and then we're going to head over, and we are going to refuel the generators. They're up to 1.5 days, and there you see our shields just came on. After that, we're going to move our thopter up onto the roof, park it so that we know it fits, and then we're just going to continue with the base design. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing with the base wall and then a row of windows on top. We want to make sure we do this too high, just like we did downstairs, but we're going to leave this back wall, the back wall at the thopter, open. Eventually that's going to be a pentashield, but yeah, let's switch to windows. I would do the same thing here, put some windows on the top, although with an open roof it's not so much of an issue. Along the inner edge, we're going to go ahead and put regular roof tiles in instead of the floor tiles. Make sure if you did use a specialty area that you align it and get it right. And once you're done, it should look something like this. As you can see above our water gauge, we're sheltered right now, which means we would be protected from a storm if it rolled through. I like to use the pentashields just to add that little security, so people can't just walk in. But yeah, we're heading back downstairs here now, and we're just going to move these boxes out of the way. I'm not totally concerned about their placement right now. Again, like I said, we're just getting them out of the way, and we are going to move some, if not all of these later, but want to just move them over, and we're going to knock one of these ceiling tiles out so that we can get from the hangar area upstairs and downstairs without having to run outside of the base. So we're just going to go to inclines, and we're going to set up a staircase. Once you put a staircase, make sure you skip over to special and put some handrails in, because you got to make sure we're OSHA compliant. Now it's time to put those pentashields I mentioned in. For here, it's a very simple one, real small. And then upstairs, we're going to head up there, and we're going to build 2 pentashields. One that's the vertical, and then one that's a horizontal. So we'll come over here, boop. And then we will switch over, build this horizontal one. And this lets us fly directly into the hangar or drop down from above. You don't have to do this, but this is the method that I prefer. And with that, we are now water sealed. So, hooray! and besides minor changes that you might want to make, this is pretty much the structure that we're going to use. Now for the fun part, we're going to head back downstairs, and it's time to put some of the machinery that we're going to be using while we're out here in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the chemical refinery. At this point, if you have to use the small one or you've chosen to, that's where you would put it. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead with this medium. But one thing that's going to happen when we build this, you'll notice it dropped our shields. The medium takes like 350 power, so she's a power-hungry little girl there. We're going to go ahead and shut it off, and that should bring our shields back up. There we go. Also, I want to mention when you're out here in the deep desert, your shields will drop from a storm. Your power's still on, so your base is still secure, but the shields will drop if you ever see that message. It's important to mention that even though the shields are down, your base is still powered, but anything on that exterior is going to take a little bit of damage from the storm. So you may have to repair them, but expect that. You're going to see some exterior damage. The next thing I want to focus on is getting the actual power requirements that we have. And this is where I'm going to put those directional wind turbines in. And for this example, I'm going to do 2 of them. That's why we put these roof tiles on the outside here. And once we get those built, yeah, they'll be fine right there. Once we get those built, I'm not going to put the fuel directly into them. I'm going to head back down to the console, and I'm going to do it through there. I brought out 100 of the lubricants for each one. So you can see that I'm up to 1,000 power even though I'm only generating 300. Once we go up here and refuel generators, now the base is fully functional. So we are good to go. And I'm going to go ahead and turn these machines on. Boop, we're at 168. And with this one, like I said, 350, so she's hungry. We're at about half, which is pretty good. Much like I do with my Haga base, I don't ever really like using more than 2/3 of the potential power I have available. Let's say you fill up your water tanks here, and then you use some or you set up something for production, then that has the potential to depower your base, which you definitely don't want to happen. Right here, we're just doing a little bit of cleanup, moving some of those boxes where I need to, and I'm moving all the generators up. And we're going to focus on getting the water running in this base. If you're going to use the large ones, you can go ahead and put them. They usually take up about one space per. You can get a little bit extra and squeeze them in there, but you're going to have to make 4 or 5 before you start really seeing some benefit. But also, like I said, if you end up coming in here and using the medium cisterns, just go ahead, pile them in there as many as you need. I would aim for at least 300,000 water. The last thing we're going to do is I'm going to build my wind trap, but I need to make a little bit of extra space for it. I don't quite have enough space on my roof right now. So we're going to get a little visually pleasing here and a little advanced. I'm going to put some walls, do some wedge walls to kind of give it a little bit of an angle. And then we're going to place some roof tiles in this section on here. And we'll head back up there, and that's where I'm going to locate my wind trap. I'm only building 1 in this case, but if you make this space large enough, you'll be able to fit, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 in there. Really, it all depends on what needs you have, but I would suggest that 2 is about a minimum that you would want. And of course, if you went with the desk stills, you wouldn't have to add this little bit of extra space on the outside. You could just put those desk stills anywhere downstairs in that open area. So I'm going to build this here, and this is the point where I would go in and we could add 135. Okay, that's good. So we're right about a little over 2/3. So we're getting kind of close on power usage, but there you go. So now we're going to head over here, and I want to make sure that, yep, we're good, 650. So we're at about 70%. I'm okay with that. And as the machines turn on and use the water, when they're making water, we'll see that power go up a little bit. But now we just need time, and it's going to take a little while. Even if you're using the desk stills, it's going to take some time for that water reserve to build up. What you can do in that time is you could head out and start collecting some ore and some materials. You can go out and collect some spice. You can turn the game off and wait until tomorrow if you want. But Right now, the base is up and running, and we just need to gather enough resources and actually start production. So that's going to end part two. Part three is coming out very soon, if you're watching this live. If not, it's probably already out. We're actually going to cover how to keep the base running, what you should aim for as far as your next set of researches and why. And hopefully, it's going to help you jumpstart into Plastanium production and Plastanium rewards. So, thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you out there. Take care.